this Friday night that you have done every possible position on the elder board at Immanuel, I think.
The history is mixed up. I was really never vice chairman.
You were never, you bypassed vice chair and went right to the chair of the elder board.
Only in emergencies was I chairman.
Okay, only in emergencies. When things are on fire, put David in charge.
Twice.
Twice. Well, excellent. David is not our missionary of the week because of your previous experience in the elder board, but because of what you do at the Union Rescue Mission. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I love talking about the mission and Immanuel's role in it. I retired from the Army after 20 years service, a little over 20, as I had planned. And early on, I asked at Immanuel, could I be in charge of the inner city? Well, you've learned by now how Immanuel operates. That meant I got special ministries. I got 14 little ministries that no pastor wanted to take care of. And among them was inner city ministry.
Okay.
So I learned so much. It really was a great experience. But I did widows and widowers. I did singles. I did things like that I'd never experienced before, as well as going downtown. But in taking Immanuel people into the city, volunteering, Central Union Mission was often at the heart of where we could volunteer. So we went in and cleaned Holmes' house. We went to Camp Bennett and things like that. And one Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, I went to the mission up on the old fifth floor of the old building, and there were 3 men in there studying their Bibles on a Saturday afternoon. And that just touched my heart. I said, something is really special going on here. And then a few months later, they had a leadership crisis. I told their board about Christian conciliation. They fell in love with it and used it and asked me to come be on the board. And then the interim director there saw that I had the nonprofit experience. I'd been doing it for 11 years with Sam Erickson and all, and had learned a lot about nonprofits, but he also knew the military background. They liked that. They said, why don't you come down and lead the mission? And that was 18 years ago.
So it was the same concept. Things are on fire, make David in charge.
Well, it was a mess. I never thought of myself as cleaning up messes. I always thought I knew how to take something that was good and make it better. But in this case, it was something bad that we've been trying to make good ever since.
Now, I'm sure there are people here who don't know about the mission and what you guys do, anything about it at all, beyond maybe a homeless shelter in D.C. So can you tell us a little bit more about what happens there?
One of my first authenticity plugs is always David Leach of Immanuel Bible Church is my treasurer. D.C. Washington of Immanuel Bible Church is my vice chairman. I am in good hands. So I have good leadership looking after me. But the mission started out with its work with men off the streets after the Civil War, way back in 1884. By then, your 20-year-old soldier is now a 40-year-old alcoholic wandering Pennsylvania Avenue, and that's how we got our start. In 1917, we added children to that ministry and began to reach out to the city, above all, sharing the gospel and looking for every opportunity to meet the needs of the poor and to share the gospel. And so that led to family ministries, and today we're able to do a pretty broad spectrum. We have the shelter downtown. We have family ministries both in English and in Spanish. We give away a lot of food. I think we're the second largest distributor of food in the city, only to the food bank, who we trade food back and forth, but they give us more than we give them. And then we have the camp for children. We have transitional housing. We have low-income housing. We've been blessed with now 6 facilities in the city, plus the camp up in Montgomery County. So we're able to reach out to meet needs as they come. The big thing for us, though, is how do you share the gospel through this ministry? And the board will always ask us that. They have a good strategic plan. They're looking ahead. But how do we share the gospel? How's it going to come out through this process, or why are you doing it?
Yeah, so I've been through your new building, and it's an impressive operation you have going on there. It is running like a finely oiled machine.
We're very blessed.
And the gospel is evident in everything from Bonnie's English and career training class, where she's weaving the gospel into everything, to the chapels and the way it's proclaimed there. All the men I saw there had gospel tracts or New Testaments with them, and they were eager to talk about, when they found out I was a pastor, they were eager to talk about Jesus with me.
We made sure who got to see you, of course.
There's a screening process. Yeah, I'm sure. So I've had interaction with you with people who have been desperate and have been in need, but have obviously been trying to exploit the system.
Yeah.
Where people say, I'm homeless and it's late at night, can you help me? And you've always gone out of your way. So I have a room reserved for you, come on in, and they don't show up. And I think many people here have had those same kind of experiences where somebody asks for help and you try to help them, but it turns out they're not really, they're after money and nothing else. How do you keep yourself from being jaded in that kind of ministry?
Well, I don't really have a problem being jaded. The good experiences are so overwhelming and compelling and all that part's easy. The thing that we do have to do is try and avoid wasting resources. And so we have rules and policies. Among them is that a person coming in overnight comes in for 30 days. After that, he can only come in 15 days a month, 15 in, 15 out, unless he comes into one of our support programs. When he comes to one of the support programs, then it's into the world of mandatory chapel, relationship with a chaplain and a Christian social worker and all of that. So we're very cautious about how we work with people over the long haul.
And what are some of those success stories?
Well, the classic is the man who gets kicked out of his family. More often, it's the guy whose girlfriend kicks him out of the apartment because he's gotten onto drugs and shows up at our place. But comes to us after a short season, accepts Christ, then gets some discipleship training, gets restored into a work program, ready to go back to work, and gets back with his family. And that's happened numerous times. But what we're looking for is the guy that will give Christ a chance, that will come in, will cooperate, study and learn, and over a season really be ready to completely rejoin the community. And what we've been learning a lot lately is that we were giving them a whole year of just pouring the Bible into them. We're doing less of that now, a shorter season, because these guys, for the most part, weren't academic stars in high school. Three months of good Bible training is a heavy dose for them. So we bring them in, we give them an application period to be sure that they really are ready for our spiritual transformation program. Put them through a 3-month program, and then we guarantee them a job. And in that job, they still get Christian counseling, they still have some supervision, some oversight to really prepare them to return to their family. Now that's a classic for a man. That mom with 3 kids is just as important to us. And so we have the food distribution, the clothing, sometimes the furniture for her, and try and draw her in. One of the areas we're working to improve right now is the way in which we share the gospel with her, that we're more thorough. And I think we're lining up another facility as things go.
Another facility.
Yeah, well, we're enlarging a facility. I'm not sure how much DC knows about this even, but he may be learning things tonight. But we've got plans because we really want to share the gospel with that working mom. And that need is so great in the city. So we're looking to do more there.
Now, how do you have such success when you're involved with the DC City Council and the mayor? I mean, you have so many businesses. You talk about in the newspaper how they leave DC because they can't get anything done, and they can't even build a patio on their restaurant. And yet you've been able to navigate that and build this massive facility right in the heart of DC.
One thing in our favor is that while pastors are not as influential as they were 30 years ago, there is still a Christian influence in DC. Especially among the black politicians. I would much rather go see one of the African-American politicians than I would see the white ones, for the most part. They still have an appreciation for Christ. The schools in D.C. are more open to Jesus than the schools in Fairfax County.
Wow.
And so that opportunity is there. I did not find closed doors. I found challenges, and we met resistance about putting a shelter in somebody's backyard. But we never had difficulty getting access to the politicians. And because of the influence of primarily the black community in D.C., we were welcomed, and we love that support. It's very important to us.
Excellent. So how can we pray for you, not just this week, but throughout the year?
Well, we've got a couple of special initiatives going on. One is that we would be more effective in sharing the gospel. And that sounds like a cliche almost, but it really isn't. That's very important. We're looking for how can we find better ways to do it more effectively with more of the people we're reaching. We're touching a lot of people, but some of them we're touching too lightly. We want to do a better job of that. The other is facilities, that we would have the best balance of facilities, because we do have some flexibility about just the right places to reach out to people. And then the third thing is we're working on these work programs to get more men back to work, and we want to work to be seen as a spiritual obligation. You know, I am a good employee because Jesus wants me to be a good employee. That's how I get back to my family. That's how people accept me, because they know that I'm a Christian and I act like a Christian even on the job.
All right.
So those three things would be huge.
All right. And is there any practical way people in the church can support you beyond prayer?
Well, they can always give. We don't turn down financial support, and Immanuel is great to us. The church has been one of our strongest supportive churches all along. But little things come up. People bring me soap at Immanuel. We save $1,000 a year on soap just because people bring us toiletries. Little things like that. When you've got clothes, you don't have to take them downtown. You can drop them on the Treadwell's front porch. Charlotte doesn't get upset about it. She's learned to tolerate that. But think about the little things that you can do that you don't need. If you have time, you can come volunteer. You can come feed a meal. But if you come, we don't want you to just come feed the meal. We want you to come talk to the men, interact with them, meet people. It's good for them, and it'll be good for you.